Mr. Balkenende, a really honor to have you here on this program. I said in the introduction because I had to mention it. You're the former Dutch Prime Minister. How are you doing today, and how are you viewing all the troubles they have in The Hague at this moment, forming a new government in the Netherlands?
But I'm enjoying this meeting. You made a brilliant remark about reinventing chemistry. I thought this is a good moment. That's what we need. So some distance of The Hague. Yeah.
Do you miss it?
No, I always said I had a great time as Prime Minister. It's challenging, it's hardworking, but I liked it very much. But I had a great time afterwards. And I was in the business sector and the academic world. So I'm happy with my life.
Yeah, you're also a professor. I didn't mention that even, but you are. For you, as a viewer, you can ask any question you want. Just use the chat function in the platform. Go to the bottom right part of the platform with your mouse and then click on Ask a Question. Your questions will pop up here on the tablet on my table, so I can ask them to Mr. Balkenende. We're going to talk about alliances to execute this innovation agenda, because all the things I heard so far are really interesting and are really great. But you have to collaborate to make it happen. And especially therefore it's really great that we have you here, because you know about those collaborations, don't you?
Yeah, let me give an example. When I was Prime Minister, we said we have to improve technology innovation in the Netherlands. We want to have a better profile as a country. But then we said we should not do it in the traditional way. Let's have an innovation platform, and we organize things differently. Some ministers hiring people from the business sector and hiring people from universities. And together we reflected on the question, how are things going? How can we improve things? Let me give an example. We discovered that a lot of businesses were not taking benefit of the knowledge of universities and University of Applied Science. And we said, let's have an innovation voucher so that you can buy knowledge. It helped. We said we should have an exchange of researchers from the public and the private sector.
Yeah.
And then we said we should also encourage that companies are working together in the pre-competitive phase to let do research. And imagination. A tulip island in the North Sea, that was great.
That was really great. Yeah. The last thing you mentioned, that's a trigger for me. When you want companies working together before a new product goes to market, in the innovation phase, how do you convince them to do so? Because companies are likely to do, no, this is mine, this is my research, this is my knowledge.
Yeah, you're completely right. But sometimes if you are in a phase of transition, then you know you have to work together. And I can give many examples. I'm also involved in a company like EY, that's an audit firm. And what you can see now is that those big companies, the big four, are working together in developing new views on tax policy, for example. Or if you talk about accounting standards regarding sustainability, then they're working together. So, of course, you are competitors, but sometimes you're also colleagues because you have common interests. So it's so important to work together, especially when you want to change things.
And it's then important to find those common interests, and therefore you need to have a platform like the innovation platform you just described. Then there's also something as the Dutch Sustainable Growth Coalition you worked on.
Yeah, it's a nice story. You know Paul Polman, he was the former CEO of Unilever. And then we had a breakfast meeting, and then we discovered that a lot of Dutch companies are high on the Dow Jones Sustainability Index. And then we said, in fact, we should join forces. How can we stimulate the thinking about redesigning business models? How can we develop sustainable growth business models? So then we had a combination of 8 multinationals, international operating companies, and it started with, what is a sustainable growth business model? Second question, how can we implement this type of thinking into the organizations? And then we started with asking ourselves the questions, how can we as companies contribute to realizing the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals? What can we do about climate change, and what about the circular economy? So it's helpful if you're working together and you have a common agenda. And you must be practical. Let me give another example. Together with Mars, you know Mars, the biggest container carrier in the world. Yeah. We had as DSGC a pilot with Mars about biofuels in shipping. Isn't it great?
That seems great, because shipping is part of the problem, of course. The big sea ships about 20-25% of the global CO2 emissions. So if you can reduce that, then you're doing a great job. You talked about the Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, and we see them on screen now. And we also have a poll question for you as a viewer of our program. And please fill this in honestly. The question is, my organization acts in line with the Sustainable Development Goals. You can fully agree, disagree, or fully disagree. please take a few seconds to make up your mind. So my company, my organization, I have to say, acts in line with the Sustainable Development Goals. Mr. Balkenende, what do you expect the outcome of this poll question will be? Are we on the good road, or is it sometimes a bit greenwashing, a bit saying we do things right for the world, for the people, for the environment?
Of course, I'm interested in the reply and the answers. But you can see that many companies are referring to the SDGs. But the key question is, has your strategy been changed? What about your key performance indicators? How do you report about realizing, for example, the circular economy? I just had a meeting with Ben Veregheim. We spoke about the necessity to think in circular terms. I think that's great, it's necessary. But so we have to wait and see what the answer will be.
Yeah, we have to wait and see. Let's see if I can put up the results. No, I can't. We still have to wait. But let's elaborate more on what you just said. That you said companies sometimes, well, they want to show how they are acting in line with the Sustainable Development Goals. But what they're not doing is make a new plan on how to really incorporate the SDGs in their policy.
Yeah, you're right. Therefore, I was happy with your remark, reinventing chemistry. If you say we want to be in line with the SDGs, then you have to start with the question, what are we doing now? And what is our real policy? What are we doing? What are our KPIs at this moment? And how can we improve things? So it must be a matter of being critical towards yourself, raising the right questions, and then it's a matter of defining your policy strategy and your KPIs, and you must be honest in reporting about the results.
Yeah, true.
Let me give an example. The DSM, you know, the chemical company, they in their annual paragraph, they have a paragraph, and that's titled, "What went wrong?" And then you're in control. I think it's a matter of honesty. We have to be honest, because at this moment, in realizing the SDGs, we are not on track. We have too much more.
But that's truly honest to mention such a paragraph. Do you have any other good examples from Dutch companies, or maybe other companies around the world, who really obtain those SDG goals?
No, let me refer to the Philips company. Frans van Houten is the CEO. What you can see that is a company like Philips, they are really choosing for the concept of a circular economy. Traditionally, Philips sold bulbs. And now they sell light as a service. And that attitude of thinking in terms of the circular economy is also being used in the medical equipment. I think is really great.
Yeah. It's a really great example. So Signify,
Signify is a new way.
The part of Philips who makes the lighting, they already are a carbon neutral producer at this moment. They have zero waste in their company. So the results of the poll are coming in at this moment. My organization, that was the question, acts in line with the Sustainable Development Goals. 25% fully agrees, 60% agrees, 12% disagrees, and 3% totally fully disagrees. So, well, basically, if you look at the results, at our viewer group, we have a really broad group of viewers, as we found out in opening. We are on a good way. Is this really true?
I think the intentions are really okay. The world is changing. Many companies, but it also comes from universities or governments, are talking in terms of how can we serve the world with doing the right things regarding the SDGs. Yeah. Of course, there's intention. But then you must be honest, what has really been changed? Yeah. What about the creativity in our own organization? What about doing things in another way? And that is a matter of going forward. Also, you must organize a stakeholder dialogue as a company. Also ask others. I mentioned Unilever. They have a sustainability policy called the Sustainable Living Plan, and they are organizing annually a discussion, a stakeholder dialogue, just to get input from others. Are we doing the right things? I think this is really great. You can organize it. And
any company should do so. That's a great piece of advice. Then let's switch to Brussels, to the European Green Deal, because what we're discussing here is it's a lot of Dutch policy, a lot of Dutch companies, and also in the previous conversation we found out we as a world have problems. Europe is between the United States and China. Can we survive? Can we?
Joost, this is a great remark. This is really about our future. And it's my conviction that Europe should rethink its position. You can see at this moment it's a kind of battle between the US and China about world leadership, who has the economic dominance. Yeah. So this is really about what about Europe? And as far as I can see, we've had the first European integration in the 50s, after the Second World War. The second one was in the 80s, about the single market, Europe 1992. And I think at this moment we should have a kind of the third wave of integration, European integration, and that has to do with how can Europe reposition itself, also reinventing. And I think that Europe should be in line with SDGs, climate change, circular economy, a Europe of results, realizing reforms. And I think the whole concept of climate change and circular economy should be part of it. And I think the chemical industry can play a huge role. And therefore, it's so important to be aware of the fact that on one hand, we have the corona times, difficult issue, we have the recovery and resilience fund, and at the same moment, we have the Green Deal. So lay a connection between these two orientations.
And the Green Deal can help reinventing the chemistry sector. Then there's also another thing, because at ARC-CBBC, we also see that in some European countries, where also a big chemical industry is there, that, well, to say it mildly, they not always follow the rules and well, the things we agreed on here in the Netherlands or in Belgium or in Germany. And there's a big competition between those companies and also those countries.
Yep.
What can we do about that?
It's always a matter of being honest about the rules. Europe has made mistakes in the past. For example, the financial issues with a country like Greece, let an example. We've not taken seriously enough the Stability and Growth Pact that had to do with financial issues and financial criteria.
Yeah.
If you talk about competitiveness, you have to be aware of the fact that we are part of the European Union. We have a European market, and of course you can be competitive, that's not the point. But there must also be something of what do we have in common? What is our common strategy? And I think organizations like the European Roundtable of Industrialists, Frank Heemskerk will be here, they can contribute to have more unity. I think this is really key. Try to be in line with the European Commission. For example, my organization, the DSGC, we have delivered with others a statement, a green recovery business statement. And we said, we as businesses, we are in line with the Green Deal of the EU. You can support them. And if, let's say, companies in Europe would act in that way, then you can make the difference.
So this is the right moment, this is the momentum to act so. There's a question about it from Ashta Bisnoy. What advice would you give to young innovators, Mr. Balkenende? Are there any collaborations, especially for them, maybe outside the European Union?
Yeah. I'm so happy with this question because this is about young people, the startups, the young innovators, and we need them. And I would like to underline the fact that it's good that boards of companies always talk with the young professionals in your organization. Yeah. A company like Films, they are interested in startups because it's about creativity and new ideas. So you must use the views of the young generation to strengthen your own organization. Therefore, this is a key remark.
And sometimes even outside of the European Union, if there's room for innovation.
No, that's good to underline the fact that we have, I think, great organizations worldwide. UN Global Compact, World Business Council for Sustainable Development, the World Economic Forum, young organizations. So there are so many possibilities to work together on a global scale.
Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us here today. It's really an honor to have you here. And please keep up the good work for the Netherlands, for the chemical industry and all the other things that you're doing. Mr. Jan-Peter Balkenende.